Well, I applied to the BBC Community Programs Unit last autumn to make a program specifically about prison therapy and the validity of it for drug addicts like myself. The program was accepted. Decided to go ahead and make it, and then it was quite interesting because we came up against every type of barrier, basically, that we could come up against. The Community Programs Unit applied to the Home Office to be allowed to film inside Holloway Prison. Of course, the answer was no. No reason was given at all. Then I wrote directly to the governor, the current governor of Holloway, Miss Joy Kinsley, and asked her if she would consent to be interviewed, and she absolutely refused. Then I wrote directly to Mr. Ian Porter of the Home Office Press Office, requesting to be allowed to talk officially to people coming under the jurisdiction of the Home Office. He didn't even bother to reply. Then the head of the Community Programs Unit called several times, and finally he got an answer from Mr. Porter saying basically that my request to be allowed to talk to people coming under Home Office jurisdiction was inappropriate at the current time.
Governors, prison officers, the Home Office, the prison system as a whole are kind of neurotic about ex-prisoners, ex-inmates, and as you know, there were quite stringent rules about whether you could actually visit somebody who you had befriended whilst you were a prisoner, or write to them, or have any communication, or have contact or access to members of staff. All those rules go back to a different era. We're only just changing them. We're only just actually changing the rules and the regulations to make it more liberal, more freer, more sensible. And what is not being changed yet, of course, is staff attitudes. You can change the rules overnight. That's relatively easy. That's just redrafting a piece of paper. To change the attitudes of the people required to enforce those rules is a much more difficult and much longer-term, laborious process, particularly when they've been brought up with generations of secrecy and restrictiveness. I do know that there appears to be certain problems that have arisen with the new regime at Holloway. I've become aware that certain problems that we didn't seem to have under the regime of the previous governor have occurred under the present one. I don't know why that should happen. I don't know why it should appear to be more difficult for people to have access to prisoners and to staff. I don't know why suddenly it should appear that there's a barrier being erected between the prison and the outside world. But I tell you quite clearly, if that barrier is being erected, and if there are difficulties being made, and it is deliberate policy, then I'm going to get that policy changed.
This is A5, the one and only therapeutic unit in the whole of the women's prison system. Sadly, evidence is coming to light that some authorities would like to see it closed down. Because of the system's refusal to cooperate in the making of this program, the only way to show what is likely to happen to a woman who goes into prison with a drug problem was through drama. The actresses are also ex-prisoners, all members of the Clean Break Theatre Company.
Your Honour has before him two very substantial medical reports submitted on behalf of the accused. In the light of this information, may we suggest that your Lordship might consider an alternative to prison if my client were to continue treatment, perhaps in one of the residential drug rehabilitation programs? This would be the most appropriate course of action. Out of the question, your client is guilty of a particularly odious and repugnant offence. Drug trafficking is an evil which must be stamped out. For this reason, I am sentencing her to 3 years' imprisonment. There she shall receive the proper treatment for her drug addiction.
Excuse me, how long do I have to wait here?
Can't say, love. Reception's full. 3 from Windsor, 12 from the Bailey, 6 from Reading Crown. Oh, now pack that up. Now don't let the others see you upset. They'll only make it harder for you. Here. Have a tissue.
So, is there someone here I can talk to? Someone in authority?
Well, what do you think I am? Hey, you can talk to me. But mind you, I haven't got all day.
I need help.
Oh, you and me both, dear. I've been on duty 9 hours now.
I want to see a doctor.
Why, you're not ill, are you?
No. I mean, yes. I'm a drug addict.
Oh, don't worry about that. We get all sorts here.
I was having treatment outside. You know, therapy.
Therapy? Oh, fat lot of help you get sitting on your backside talking. This is a prison you're in, my girl, and we've got short, sharp shots for skivers. Don't you forget it.
Oh, God. I shouldn't be here.
Well, you should have thought about that before, shouldn't you? It's too late now. You are here, and you'll just have to make the best of it. You just keep yourself to yourself. You don't want any more trouble, do you?
I went in on a not drugs-related charge. They didn't know that I was going to withdraw or anything. And I did tell someone when I first got to reception, and they told me to see someone the next day. When I tried to sort of ask a screw or anything, well, in fact, the one that I did ask just laughed at me and just seemed to think it was quite funny that I was withdrawing. And then by the time I actually did get to see anybody at all, it was too late anyway. And I mean, just nobody was interested at all.
The simple fact is that there are very few prisons where there are any specific efforts made to help people who have addiction problems, whether it's drink or drugs or gambling. And for the majority of people, what happens is you have prison officers whose prime responsibility is looking after the prison and maintaining the system. That's inevitably their major job, and they have less time for the prisoners, particularly when you've got overcrowded prisons. Then just the simple management of that is very demanding.
I mean, I was aware that all the kind of problems that I had were drug sort of related in one way or another, and I mean, I was trying to deal with that myself on my own. So like, if I had known that there'd been something else, I think I probably would have tried to get onto it, but I didn't even know it existed.
I try to get around to everyone as soon as I possibly can. You are Church of England, aren't you? Good. Well, we have a service every Sunday morning, just like in the outside world. Expect we'll see you there. 10:30, immediately after the Catholics. An officer will bring you over. Now, in the meantime, if there's anything I can do, or if you'd just like to have a little chat, I'm always available. Just make an application and I'll be round in a day or two. Only at tea times, mind you, and I'm not here on Wednesdays.
I need help now.
Yes, dear, I know you do.
I'm a drug addict, you see.
Do your family know you're here?
I haven't seen my family for years. We don't get on.
Oh dear, that's sad.
I want to get myself straight.
Yes, well, you know, it's not really as bad as all that. Would you like me to make a telephone call for you? Only to a member of your family, mind.
I told you. My family and I don't get on.
Oh, yes, of course, so you did, dear. I'm sorry.
Is there someone I can talk to here? Someone in authority?
Well, I'll try and have a little chat with welfare for you. But don't you forget Sunday. Now, you have a talk with the Lord, dear. He's the highest authority.
As soon as I got into the prison, I remember very, very well that the response I received from officers, particularly prison officers and probation officers alike, was that there was no sort of support for me there. That the drug unit, as it had been called, wasn't running anymore, wasn't open, and being as I was a long-term inmate, I wasn't going to stay at Holloway, and there was all that to go through. But what I did was that I fought the issue, and I petitioned the Home Office to serve my sentence at Holloway, to get the support, whatever type of support there was, that was available to me.
Well, it has space for something like 20 addicts. At the moment, on the last figures I've got, I think there's only 6 there. Clearly, that is absurd. There aren't enough units at the moment. There aren't enough places, even if all 20 are open and available, there aren't enough places for the demand in the system as a whole. There's an increasing number of addicts, for one reason or another, being sent to prison for sometimes quite wrong and inappropriate reasons, and there is clear now and overwhelming evidence of the need for more units, for more therapy, for more rehabilitative work to be carried out.
3 years. I'd do myself in, I think.
Or you could sleep it off like you're doing this time.
What do they give you for withdrawals around here?
10 mils of fire a day, for 6 days if you're lucky.
Lomotil for cramps and diarrhoea, plus a sleeping dose. They give you Lorgactil or the Pixel injections if you smash up, or you tell them you're depressed.
Still, it takes the edge off. You should book to see the doctor tomorrow.
You can get anything else easy enough.
I was having treatment before, you know, therapy. Is there anything like that here?
Sure, A5.
I tried it once. They're all dosses on there.
It's not what it used to be. Used to be quite a few on A5. Now there's only a handful.
Besides, you'll be shipped out long before you get to A5. Then they'll never let you come back.
The majority of people who go into prison have it as it's something that interrupts their drug use or drinking. It isn't something that causes it to stop. So that at the moment we know that something like 10% of the people who go into prison, who come out of prison, who are using drugs, go immediately back to drug use and die because they go back to the same amount of drugs that they were using before they went in, and they've lost their tolerance. They overdose, and that accounts for 10% of the deaths.
Yes?
I want to make an application to go on the A5 therapeutic unit.
A5, whatever for?
Well, I've got a drug problem, and I feel I need help with it.
To be quite frank with you, I don't think you'd be made welcome on A5. The unit's not very sympathetic towards dope pushers. A lot of people are in there because of the likes of you. This isn't Butland, you know, and you have, after all, committed a serious crime.
Oh, but I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't have needed the money to score. Well, it's all there in my file. I was only dealing to support my habit. Can't you see that?
Yes. And you had quite a habit, didn't you? In any case, you'll be allocated to another prison shortly. We don't keep people here once convicted.
Are there any other therapeutic units in other prisons?
Not for women, no.
Then I've got to get on this one. Is it possible to see the governor about it?
The governor's a very busy woman. She hasn't got time to worry about one individual case, as I'm sure you'll appreciate.
But why do I have to go to another prison when I'm already here and this is where I want to be? I can get help here, and my children live nearby. They could visit me.
It's not what you want that counts. This prison is already full to bursting point, and I'm afraid that A5 is not exactly a priority at the moment. I try to do my best for you girls, but if you keep demanding to see the governor all the time, there's not much I can achieve. My hands are as tied as anyone else's. Have you any further applications? Next, please.
Imprisoning drug dependents and alcoholics is futile and silly, particularly if you're punishing them for their addiction. That is absurd, and everybody would accept that is absurd. If you're dealing with their addiction, then you need to deal with it in facilities based in the community, be they hostels, therapeutic unit, detoxification centres, whatever. And everybody acknowledges and accepts that imprisoning drug addicts, alcoholics, like the mentally ill, because they are drug addicts or alcoholic, is pointless and a waste of time.
Sorry it's taken me so long to get round to seeing you. I've got rather a large caseload at the moment. Everybody seems to be A to F.
A to F?
Yes, that's my section of the alphabet. Cigarette?
No, thanks.
If we do nothing else in welfare, we're always good for a cigarette.
I don't smoke.
Oh, good for you. It's a terrible habit. Well, what can we do for you, then?
I need advice.
Well, that's what we're here for. Now, 3 years may seem like a long time, but there's always remission for good behaviour. Now, that lops off a third straight away. Then there's parole, but you really shouldn't bank on that, especially on the drugs conviction. Parole's a nice dream, but don't depend on it.
It's about A5. What's it like? It's the drug therapy unit, isn't it?
It used to be called the drug unit, but the powers that be didn't think that was a very attractive title. It's known as A5 now, and takes all types.
You see, I've given it a lot of thought, and I don't want to go out to be a junkie again. I don't like being a junkie. I don't like myself when I'm a junkie. To be honest, it's a relief to be off the treadmill. But I know I need some sort of treatment.
Well, I must say it's refreshing to find such a positive attitude coming from an inmate. However, I think that the powers that be feel that, well, they have to be careful the unit's not abused. I'm sure you understand. Some people apply for the wrong reasons, reasons that are not always relevant to their needs. You see, there are certain privileges on A5 that other inmates don't enjoy.
What kind of privileges?
Only 2 people to a cell, for instance. Plus daytime education. That's an expensive commodity, I'm sure you understand. And then there's the extra staff needed to run the unit, all of which puts a pressure on the system as a whole. You see, We try to be fair to everyone, but it's felt in certain quarters that A5 is, well, something of a soft option.
It's much easier to just nicely settle into the routine of prison and to follow the system and to do everything that you're told and to get up at a certain time and slop out at a certain time and go to bed and have the light off at a certain time. That's much easier. You haven't got to think. You haven't got to become involved. All you've got to do is do as you're told.
Mm-hmm.
In a therapeutic unit, you've actually got to start taking some responsibilities, and there are demands placed on you, and demands which are uncomfortable and challenging. That's much harder.
It's a self-help therapeutic community. Its regime is very strict, very hierarchical structure. And what Alpha is about actually is confronting the individual. You confront your behaviour, your attitudes, and we do that with the help of each other and with the support of the staff. And the environment is all geared towards change. And it's just very strict. And, you know, you learn to sort of recognise who you are and how you feel. But although it's very confrontative, there's a lot of care, there's a lot of love, and there's a great deal of support.
Prison officers aren't trained. They receive no training whatsoever to deal with therapeutic units or therapeutic situations. A lot of them are totally out of their depth, and the ones that aren't mostly rely on sort of reasonably good judgment and common sense to get them through.
How are you settling in, lovey?
I'll be happier when I've seen the governor.
The governor? What on earth for?
I booked a private interview.
I've told you, anything you want to know, you ask me.
It's about getting on A5.
A5? Oh, you'll be lucky, ducky.
Lucky ducky? Ha ha.
Oh, shut up, Laura, for Christ's sake.
It rhymes.
Here, Mrs. Clamp, when's my application for daytime education coming through? Do you know? I've been waiting 3 weeks now.
You can read and write, can't you?
Yes.
Then you don't need it. You're already educated. Besides, you're too old for education, Maggie. You just want a good skive, don't you?
Who's too old? Anyway, it's the Open University I want to do.
Oh, aren't we thinking grand, eh? Well, too bad. The OU's only for lifers.
No, it's not milkmen do it.
Money spent on this system could put us all through university.
Anyway, you'll be off up the motorway before long, all of you, scrubbing floors.
I'm staying for A5.
A5? You keep going on about this A5. Well, if you book the governor, you've no chance. Mark my words. You'll be out of here before the application even reaches her desk.
The psychologist is recommending me.
Oh, psychologist, eh? Oh, another muppet we've got here, eh, girls? Psychology, a lot of nonsense if you ask me. Anyway, it's time you were asleep. It's gone 9. Good night. God bless.
Maggie,
Yes?
do you think I'll get to A5?
Of course you will. Just keep trying.
There's something like 2,000 plus drug dependents known to the Home Office received in prison every year, and many, many hundreds of others who probably have some degree of drug dependency or alcoholism who aren't noticed, who don't come to the notice of the prison system. So there are several thousand within the system, and yet at any one time we have six units at best, and one of them, the major one in Holloway, as we've just indicated, at the moment anyway, only providing 6 places.
I've been trying to see you for days. They told me my application had gone astray, so I had to make out another one.
Oh, did you?
Yes. It's about A5, getting onto it. What's it really like? Everybody seems to be doing their best to put me off the idea around here.
Well, we have group therapy twice a week, as well as the slimming club and relaxation classes in the chapel, although I'm afraid our time is limited.
Mine isn't.
Quite. The slimming club's doing very well at the moment. It meets every Tuesday at tea time. Not that I think you'd have a lot to watch right now, but it's good for personal morale, especially with all the starchy foods you girls eat.
I'm not really very interested in slimming at the moment.
Feeling a bit tense, are you? Perhaps a relaxation session would help.
So you can get me on there then?
Well, it's rather difficult at the moment. Your application will have to be processed and then your suitability assessed at a unit staff meeting. The next one is, let me see, next Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon? But I'm being transferred to Style, and the bus leaves on Wednesday morning.
Oh dear. Well, then I'm afraid there's not an awful lot I can do. Once you're on the transfer list...
But you're in charge of A5. Surely there must be something.
Not really, no. This sort of thing is always a problem. You see, it's not up to me.
I don't understand. I'm in prison. I need help. A5 is all there is for me, and I've been trying to get there ever since I arrived. Now I'm told I'm on the transfer list for Style. I don't get it. I thought prison was supposed to rehabilitate everybody. I'm sick of being a junkie. What's the point of me going up the motorway just to scrub floors? I want to do something about me. Otherwise, my being here will be a complete waste of time.
I was lucky. I had to stay in Holloway for a second court case. That gave me the time to battle my way through the red tape. Unfortunately, this is the end of the story for most. When I first arrived on A5, it was a very small wing. Hardly anyone was up there at all. It certainly, from my previous experience of therapy, the resources available weren't being utilized at all. And then very shortly afterwards, Dot came on the unit, and a couple of other women who, Dot particularly with her extensive therapeutic experience, and a couple of other women who were very into the idea of trying to do something with their sentence. We sort of banded together, if you like, and with the collusion and support of the psychology department, tried to make the wing into a proper therapeutic wing. And what happened there was, very, very quickly, I was warned off by my own probation officer within the prison, who came up to visit me in my cell and said to me, "Bernie, I think that you're spending far too much time worrying about what's going on inside. You should be spending more time thinking about what's going on outside." And my reply to her was, "Well, this is my life. I'm going to be here for at least another year, if not 2 years. This is my life now. How can I think about outside? I'm not there. I'm here. I'm inside." But that was her way of letting me know that too much organization was going on, and they didn't like it. But we did, didn't we? Within the considerable boundaries and barriers that we were up against. We did. We managed to make it as much like a therapeutic community as we possibly could, and the other girls went along with it, more or less. And we got an awful lot out of it. I mean, out of the four of us, who were the loudest voices on the wing, who put the most into the therapeutic effort, if you like, out of the four of us, 3 of us are now drug-free and crime-free a year and a half later. So I don't think that that's a particularly bad result, really.
Not at all, no.
It's just lies, lies, lies all the time. Why? Why can't you just be straight with us for once?
Why should I tell you about my problems so that you can go and spread it around all over the
You can't
wing?
tell anyone else, though, Mary.
What is it? How are we going to know if you don't?
Well, for instance, I had a relationship with my father when I was young. Well, none of you knew about that, did you? Or cared?
Lots of people have.
Yes.
New. Come on, other people. It's happened to
But
others.
that's not it, is it? The truth is, with me, I enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it. Oh, God, I should never have said that to you, Dot. I shouldn't have trusted you.
Well, now you have.
Yes, well done, Mary. Good for you.
Come on, it's all right. What happened doesn't matter now.
The sex is there to enjoy anyway. You're so young.
And it's how you feel about it now that matters.
You promise you won't tell anyone else, will you? I'm only saying it now because it's just
Of course
us.
not. Of course
Take
not.
us
You
for-
can't trust us. We're not screws.
Yeah, so tell us about it. What was it like with your father?
Oh, it was terrible. I could make him do anything I wanted. I remember once making him buy me a new bicycle, just on the spur of the moment. I saw it and I said, I want it. And he knew he had to get it for me. It was bright red, ever so expensive. It had 10 different gears on it. But you can imagine, I hadn't a clue how to work it. I made him do things like that lots of times.
But why do you think you did things like that, Mary?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose it gave me a kick, knowing there was no limit to what I could get away with.
I didn't know how to cope with this, so I was almost clinging on to the idea of therapy that I'd learned at Alpha. And I was appalled, absolutely appalled, that there was none of that sort of support within the prison system. And it was only through meeting people like Bernie and Dominique and a few other people and instilling the support of the probation service that we actually got something together that represented therapy. But it was only self-help and confronting each other and talking about our own experiences and turning it into something that we thought would work and that we wanted to work.
Well, this is, what's your third sentence? All of them for some type of deception. How do you feel about it when you're committing a crime? Do you get the same kick out of it as you did out of carrying on with your father and deceiving your mother?
Well, of course not. No, that's got nothing to do with it.
Well, maybe it has. Think about it. Look at it this way, Mary. I mean, every time you tell a lie, you've got to tell another one to cover it, right? And before you know where you are, you've just weaved a web for yourself that's so tangled you're never ever going to get out of it.
Yeah, you've
There's
got
just
like
no
a rat in a
end.
treadmill, yeah.
It'll just go on and on and on. You've got to make a break somewhere along the line.
It was quite funny, actually. We had to always be very careful, though, of the prison officers and the actual staff, the system. We had to be very aware of not overstepping boundaries, certain sort of unspoken marks that there were there, dividing lines and things. We certainly couldn't let on that we were taking any responsibility for ourselves, because that's not allowed in a prison environment. We had to, always sort of hedge round it, really. And this is the terrible thing about prison, because, of course, especially if you're a junkie, anybody who has any experience of drug addiction knows that a drug addict has terrible problems with self-esteem, the self-image. After all, I mean, who is literally going to be walking around trying to kill themselves in a way? It is like a slow living death, a slow form of suicide. John McCarthy said recently in a discussion program on Channel 4, John McCarthy, the ex-governor of Wormwood Scrubs, said that there was absolutely no reason why right now there couldn't be a special unit of the Barlini type or A5 type in every major prison. My personal feeling is that that type of unit is an embarrassment to the Home Office, because they work. They actually do work. And if that's the case, then how can the Home Office justify what they're doing with the rest of the prison population? Why are they not extending these type of facilities? Why are they not looking at experiments happening in other countries? They just don't seem to be willing to look. Their answer is build more prisons, lock more people up, instead of looking at the actual resources that they've got now and what they're doing with those resources. It's just a really, really crazy situation. They've got something in front of them that obviously works, especially with an addict or an alcoholic. If you take away their addiction, you take away their criminality in a number of cases, because many, many junkies end up stealing or committing whatever crimes they commit to support their habit. It's that simple. If you take away the habit, you take away the criminality. And yet it's almost as if there's some sort of collusion within the system itself to perpetuate this.
It seems to me, on the face of it, clearly unacceptable, given the Home Secretary's clear, publicly stated view that the prison system must adopt a more robust openness of mind and open attitude and must invite the media in. His argument is, quite rightly, they've nothing to hide, nothing to be ashamed of, let it all hang out and let's argue about it and let's debate it publicly. Given the Home Secretary's view that that should be the position, I find it very surprising that you've been refused the kind of access that you demanded. At the moment, I've not been able yet to get a satisfactory answer from the Home Secretary, but the issue will be pursued and will be pursued very vigorously.
Good luck, good health.